They've had a great summer, as Coach said, a great fall so far. We have limited reps live with the team, so they've gotten a lot of reps on their own. And honestly, we've got 2 or 3 guys that have kicked in games here that have done a nice job this fall, and 1 guy that has a lot of experience in other places that they've all really had a nice fall so far. No one's really stood up and made a name for themselves yet over the other guys, but it's been pretty good.
You know the gunner position is such an important one here. Who do you think will be the gunner?
Yeah, I mean, great question. Gunners, so the history of gunners here is one of the best anywhere. And as you know, when I was a GA here, Devin Smith was one of the best in the country. And then, you can go through the years and guys like Terry McLaurin and, Jeff Okuda played gunner for us here. And last year, we had really some experience coming back. Chris Olave, Josh Proctor. We've got a bunch of guys that have done it. Cam Brown's run down for us. So a lot of different guys. And then, we'll kind of do that by committee based on, how many plays guys are getting in offense, defense, and where that flow is going. But really, I mean, we have a lot of guys that are big, strong, fast, can run, and they've bought in. They love doing that, and so that's not something that we're overly concerned with at this moment in terms of depth. Julian Fleming and a bunch of guys will be running down for us. That'll be a big positive for us.
Right next door, Dave. Your primary kickoff returner?
That's still up in the air. Primary kickoff returner. It's we've got Demario McCall he was a returner last season. We had some different guys that have gotten reps back there for us. Right now we're really trying to figure that out. Honestly, we've got a bunch of guys similar to the conversation about gunners. Got a lot of talented athletes that are really good with the football in their hands, and so it'll be some situational, but also we've had a bunch of guys catching balls back there. Some of the running backs, some of the young receivers. We've got some dynamic players if we can get them going. Garrett and then Jackson Smith, he's returned punts for us last season as well. And so those guys, as of right now, will probably get a good rotation of them. Same conversation about how many reps are getting offense, defense, where the game flow is going, how things are really looking on that side of the ball, who's back there, and we feel very comfortable with both of those guys right now.
Second row left, Dan.
To say first team, we just kind of rep guys back there. You're right, probably on that play. I've seen the same thing that other people have seen. Kind of when I said there's some young players and some older players that you want the football in their hands, rotation. As you saw at practice, what you want back there, a kickoff returner, is decisive, strong runner that isn't scared to hit the hole when he sees it. So we've got a bunch of guys that are capable of doing that, and he's certainly one of them. Ball security is number one, definitely number one, because the ultimate job at the end of that play is for the offense to have the football. So if you can't trust them back there, that's probably not something you're really going to invest in. But that's kind of the entire offensive culture is making sure you have great ball security, and so that wouldn't change any kick returner. And I really don't have experience with guys that are home run hitters that drop the ball and fumble. That'd be something I don't have a lot of experience with. Certainly, if they can't take care of the football, we don't want to just give it to them. But home run hitters are something that you're always looking for. So there is a balance there. But number one job is to have the ball at the end of that play. So that's really important. It's a good question.
Third row left, Nathan.
Yeah. So mainly what we do is we chart all the reps. We chart everything. We try and make sure that we have, in a true competition, equal reps, equal situations. If you were outside today, you would have seen it was different than yesterday. So in the weather, you have to take that into account a little bit subjectively. But mainly what we want to do is we want to give guys equal opportunities, chart the reps, operation time, see how the ball's getting up, see what's going through the uprights. And then at the end of the day, there is a little bit of a demeanor factor involved. But we're trying to be as objective as we can about just giving them opportunities and seeing what happens instead of changing the other pieces of the puzzle in terms of snapper and holder. We're trying to be consistent and give equal reps and just kind of seeing how it shakes out from there. There's a little bit of that, I think so. Yeah, that's what there's a in any position you want that player to, one, be confident in himself, and two, his teammates have confidence in him, and I think we've got that with everybody in our competition at field goals right now. So that's not something that's going to be a big deciding factor. It's really going to be just what happens, what balls go through the uprights, and what the times and kind of the flight line of the ball looks like is going to be really important.
Named off guys like Devin Smith, Barry McLaurin, and Jeff Okuda, who are outstanding players who worked under here. Philosophically, with a guy like Chris Olave, who might be the best receiver in college football, where are you on if he's a good gunner for us, we're going to use him there versus, well, maybe that's a fewer reps of receiver for him or not risking injury. How do you balance that when you have a kind of a superstar who's also a special teamer?
That's a really good question. And in some ways, that's the program that we run here. Coach Day's done a great job of instilling that culture, and we got to have the best players to play on every play. And that could be the best player for that moment. That could be the best. Chris is one of the best gunners in the country, if not the best. Similar to his receiver play, he does the same at gunner. And you certainly don't want to use him if you have another guy and he's tired after a third down. You have another guy that's equally as good because it's the best player on that play in that moment. But Chris will play gunner for us. He will. Just like I mentioned, Josh Proctor will play gunner for us. Those guys have gotten experience there. They're weapons. Certainly we don't want to, if he's, like I said, tired after a third down incompletion or something, he ran all the way down the field. We have other guys that are very capable of doing that. But that's something that we've had guys buy into a long time. If we don't change the game in the punt, we're going to struggle. So we have to have our best players changing the game every opportunity that they have, especially at that position of gunner because of how much premium we place on that.
And were you guys on the lookout for a transfer kicker this offseason, wanting to bring in some competition there, or did it just sort of present itself to happen?
Got to go back and remember. I mean, I think anytime you have inexperience, you want to make sure that you have experience. You want to have the right guy doing the right thing, and the situation came up, and I think honestly, I don't remember, but I'm glad we have them. I'm glad we have both. Any competition is good, and so we have both of those two guys you're referencing are very capable, and we have really good competition going right now.
Front row left, Bill.
Now we're getting into the details here. It's a really good question, and we've had a lot of conversation about that because if you just look at kind of the overall the spiral punt, the American traditional spiral punts typically have a little bit higher ceiling in terms of their hang time, their distance, a lot of those things, and then the rugby style or it doesn't have to be it's just the style of the way they're dropping the ball on their foot. So, sometimes they're a little bit they're end over end, so they don't quite have the same hang time, and so it'll be game plan, it'll be situational, and Jesse's really good at both of those, and so we're going to try and utilize both as we need to. We try and keep it as consistent as we can for our coverage guys. Part of the job there is to protect for a certain period of time and then to go cover a location on the field that the ball's going to be kicked. And so really it doesn't, the end over end versus the spiral really won't impact the direction and things that we're doing. And a lot of that we're trying to keep it as consistent as we can for those coverage guys so that we don't have multiple things that they're going to do. And really at the end of the day, it's how fast can you protect and then run down the field and kind of go play ball.
Third row middle, Joey. Parker, was there much you noticed about Noah that brought him into the transfer portal? Like, what stood out when you guys were scouting first?
Consistency. He kicks a very nice ball. And I know Coach Day spoke on it earlier. Kind of the philosophy around here is, once we get around midfield, we're a pooch team. And then once we get down deep in there, we're trying to score touchdowns. We have to be consistent at field goals from a certain range. And then, Blake against Northwestern, that was the end of a half situation when we kicked a 50-something yarder. And so for the most part, it's can we be consistent from a mid-range to a short field goal? That's our job. And then those longer range field goals or pooch situations, that's kind of a different conversation. But he showed great consistency, kind of the things I referenced earlier, and he kicks a very nice end over end ball, and so that's pretty much what I noticed. Yeah.
Third row right, Tony.
What does a punter have to do to lose his black stripe? We saw Jesse lose his. What did that take?
You got to ask Chris Fenelon. He's been very consistent since the time he got here, and so I think part of how the punter loses black stripe is obviously you got to perform on the field. You got to do a nice job in practice. He's also part of it is becoming one of the guys in the culture. he's done a great job in the weight room. He's done a great job in the locker room. And so all of that goes into it when a punter, he has limited reps. He doesn't get as many as other positions do. And so that's what I think Jesse's done a really nice job of, is coming in, being one of the guys, working really hard, and then when it's time for him to go, do his job in punt team practice, he does a nice job. And that's kind of what he's shown, is some of that stuff.
Would you rather have your kicker lose a black stripe or your punter?
I want them both losing black stripes. That's a loaded question right there. I'd appreciate it though, but no, it's really, at the end of the day, we need all our guys to be game ready. That's our big focus right now. Is if you're not ready to go play in a game, what can we do right now to get you ready to go play in a game? And that's part of that mentality, the black stripe. And some guys have they need different things at this moment because they've played less, they've played more, and so that's one of those things. It was a big moment for Jesse, and we're real proud of him.
Parker, when you talk about competition for all these spots on special teams, how much are you able to go live? As Coach Days talked about, the restrictions with full padded practices, how many people you have in camp. I would guess that there's maybe not a huge amount of reps to go around for you.
It depends on what you mean by reps. Full team reps live, covering kicks, 50, 60, 70 yards, not a ton of those. It's a lot of running. And so we design drills that are competitive, and we can, we're staying off the ground, and we're working good against good to try and go earn spots. That's how we do it. And we'll highlight certain players when they do a really good job on a rep that's a drill, and then maybe they get one cover rep, and then, hey, look, here's how it correlates. And so that's a lot of our competition is in drills. Certain teams, we have more spirited team practice. Punt is one that, it's a more confined space, and it's, we can go rush pretty good there. But in terms of full speed, all the way down the field stuff, you're right, we do get limited reps. So we have to take into account all the drill work, all the little things that we're getting done in the meeting room. How locked in and detailed are they in the meeting room? That's very important too. And all of that will play into who's going to ultimately play for us.
Does this camp feel different for you as a full-time guy?
It's been a long time since we've had a real camp, so I honestly don't remember. It feels good to be back, good to be, having normal practices, normal meetings. It's obviously, great to be full-time coach and have that, honor and that, responsibility is something I really enjoy every day. I don't know if I would say I necessarily felt any different in the past, but I'm, very happy to be here. Glad that we're in a normal camp. So I'm sure good to see you guys in person too, by the way.
Time for a couple more. Front row right. Kim?
Yeah, you brought the word demeanor a while ago about something else. I wanted to ask you, is there a common demeanor or denominator for a Chris Olave, a Devin Smith, that sets them apart as a gunner?
Absolutely. It's it's a mindset of not being denied. Sometimes things don't go well. Sometimes you get a double team. Sometimes the ball's kicked away from you. Sometimes, okay, good. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to let that returner go this way. That's really what it comes down to. And those players that obviously have to have a certain athletic skill set, but then when they have that mindset and that demeanor that they want to be the guy to go force the fair catch or to go stop the returner from gaining yards. That's something that you can see, you can feel, and obviously Chris is one of the guys. We've got a number of guys on our team that have been that way, and I think that's really it. Just wanting to do it, and then the little pride to go get it done.
And one of the quickie, Jesse, does he have a certain maturity about him that sets him apart too? I mean, just what have you just noticed about him from the get-go in that regard?
He does. He's a little older than a typical freshman, which helps in terms of maturity, like you said. His body's a little bit more developed in some ways, and I think that he's just done a really nice job of, it's not that he didn't know American football, but there are some little pieces and he's a quick learner. He got it, and he's really done a great job in terms of just handling himself in the locker room, in the weight room, as a teammate, because that's number one, your job as a football player, and then obviously how he's been performing on the field's been good too.
And final questions, third row left, Doug.
I have a terrible memory. Wasn't Tough Orland like the punt protector here for many
Yes,
years?
we called him the middle shield. That's right.
Pretty good at it, right?
He was very good at it.
So who's up now?
That's another competition. Losing those, anytime that we have turnover in major positions on the special teams, it's not always just the punter, the kicker, the snapper, all those, like you referenced. Tough Borland was tough. Justin Hilliard, Baron Browning, Pete, Luke Farrell. I mean, a lot of these guys have played significant snaps here in the kicking game, whether it's on punt or KOR or kickoff, whatever. And right now we've got some of those, Mitch Rossi, Tommy Eichenberg, Cody Simon. We've got a bunch of different guys, Jeremy Ruckert, those guys are getting all those reps at that shield level, trying to make sure we get a lot of bodies and a lot of game reps for those guys as best we can, talking about being game ready. And those are the guys that are really, stepping up, doing it. Taraja Mitchell, all those guys that have gotten, Taraja started for us in that 3 years ago. He's got a lot of reps. And so we've got a good rotation. And that's really what you need, is you need multiple players, like a pair and a spare, as we say, to be able to go out and execute at a high level and be game ready. But we don't have a guy that's the set guy right now, like Tough World. This time last year, it's, hey, Tough, you got him, let's go. And so that's kind of a conversation we're having every day. And that's why we have to have so many, spirited, as I say, punt periods, to make sure we have enough game reps of those guys getting in there.
And last thing on, you're talking about your field goal kickers to be able to make those mid-range field goals consistent. What's like the back end of that mid-range? I'm trying to figure out, where are you guys thinking more field goal? Where are you thinking more push it down?
That'd be a game. That's game to game. Ultimately, we talk about the plan to win, and in terms of when you can start the ball further, you start the ball closer to your end zone, you have a higher percentage of scoring. When the defense starts the ball, with the ball closer to their end zone, they have a lower percentage of scoring. So that's our job. Is in a game, you can go back throughout the years, and there have been situations we pooch the ball. And then based on situation, hey, maybe we need to try to kick along. What's the wind doing? What's the weather doing? So to say a specific number, that's going to be tough. Today, if you were outside in the rain today, probably be a pooch situation, just because we understand the game flow and how that, the defense starting down there is a huge, huge, huge factor. And weather is not good, or wind's really bad, or it's snowing, or whatever we're dealing with. So it's really hard to say exactly where that line of demarcation is. But at the end of the day, we got to make the ones that Coach Day says, hey, field goal. That's kind of our job. And so that's where we're really, we're working to get that range, like you said. But I don't have a specific number for you right now.
Parker, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Parker. Hey, Dave, are you doing Parker? I will. I'll send you the video. I didn't get the first 2 minutes. Yeah, whatever. I didn't get the first 2 minutes, which is when he talked about the kickers and punters. I can get it right through. Yeah.
We'll come back with D linemen tomorrow in here. And something Wednesday.
Practice is Thursday.
Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday.
BTN is here on Wednesday.
All my games mixed up, man.
And are we here when BTN, are we in there when BTN is in there, or?
Well, you're in when BTN gets here. Now, that's the question. How long?
Do you want an answer? I can give you.
You guys remember, I know last year or 2 years ago, when they were in, I had in my notes, in my advisory to you guys at the beginning of the year, that after we shut off the video photography window on that DTN day, that you guys could stay and watch the whole practice. Do you recall, did you stay and watch?
Yeah,
we did.
That's what I was remembering.
Stay and
Yeah.
watch it sketch stuff.
Same as stealing.
Jerry, we were able to stay and watch it sketch stuff.
I could show you video of us staying past.
No, we were
remember-
able to stay and watch.
You were quoting everything you heard from. You were retweeting every Dave Repson tweet or something like that.
That was many years ago when you guys shut out.
Yeah, that was many years ago.
So you guys did get to stay for BTN Day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Precedent was set.
That's right.
And even if we didn't, which I'm sure we did, you could always say, this year we're doing it.
You should just say, in these
You were
unprecedented
getting
times.
attacked because it was hard to justify watch and tweet. Yeah.
I know, clearly it's on my mind.